What is one of the most intimidating shots in golf? It's that 50 to 60 yard wedge shot where it's not quite a full swing. It's not a short game shot. So today in this video, I'm going to share with you how to become a wizard with your wedge inside of that gray area by giving you my top 3 mistakes I see golfers making and how to correct them, because nothing's more frustrating than chunking that wedge shot short or blading it over the back of the green where you're making bogey most likely instead of par or birdie like you should be. All right, the real first mistake here should be your course management skills, because if you're in this position and it's not a comfortable shot for you, my question is, why did you allow yourself to be in that position in the first place? But nonetheless, the first mistake here that I see is golfers are setting up for a 50 to 60 yard wedge shot and making entirely too long of a backswing relative to the distance they want to go. So if a golfer sets up and the backswing is too long, they can commit to the tempo and swing through and hit the golf shot too far, or the subconscious mind can butt in. The subconscious mind can say, hey, Brandon, this ball is going to go too far with this swing. You better find a way to slow down and decelerate into the shot. So the deceleration into the shot and the chunking and the topping is caused from too long of a backswing, because the length of your backswing influences your tempo. If the length of my backswing is too long for my distance, I need to slow down to hit the ball the right distance. And if the length of my backswing is too short, I have to then rush through to create a faster speed to try to get the ball to go the right distance. So the first thing is you have to learn how to control the length of your backswing. And an easy way to do that is to have little checkpoints through the backswing. Number one here for this 50 to 60 yard wedge shot is going to be like a hip high shot. Now, I'm not saying that this hip high shot is going to go 50 yards, but learning how to make backswings and feel where this club head is hip high, and then stepping in to make a swing where you feel like that club head goes hip high and rotating through with committed tempo is a good first step. Now, that ball did not fly 50 yards, so it may not be a long enough backswing, and I'm sure if you look on camera, my backswing probably went a little longer than hip high here, but that was my feeling. My feeling of the club head going hip high allowed me to maintain my tempo through the swing. The second checkpoint you may have is to say, hey, I'm going to make a shoulder high backswing where my club head goes about shoulder high. So I set up, I feel the club head about shoulder high for me and what senses in my brain as a shoulder high shot. And then I can step in and hit a shoulder high shot and swing through with good tempo. Now that ball flew about 50 yards in the air. So that's more of a truer feeling for me. And again, the club head probably went a little higher than shoulder. That's fine as long as it's not getting too long, but I'm now closer to the length of swing that I need to make. All right, moving on to mistake number 2. Now, the funny thing is, mistake number 2 can actually cause mistake number 1. And here in a few minutes, as we move on to mistake number 3, you're going to see how mistake number 3 can actually cause mistake number 2 and mistake number 1. So you'll be able to see the progression of faults from the root cause of all of this. So mistake number 2 is golfers will have too much hinge in their hands as they bring the golf club back. And it's a very common question that I get as a coach. Hey coach, how much wrist hinge should I have? Or when do I hinge my wrists? But nonetheless, if a golfer brings the golf club back and has too much hinge, well then on the way through and down, they have to undo all of that hinge, which makes you very timing critical. Not only does it make you very timing critical, the undoing of this hinge then can cause you to bottom out behind the ball and hit the ground first, or lift up to avoid the ground on the way through because you're unloading all of the hinge that you have. So as you make a backswing, you shouldn't be thinking about hinging your wrist necessarily. You should be allowing the weight of the golf club to then rise up in the air. If you allow the weight of the golf club to swing up, you will naturally hinge the club as much as you should for the length of backswing that you're making. So as I'm making a 50 to 60 yard shot, let's just say I'm going to bring the club head back to about shoulder height, you'll notice how my hands really haven't hinged that much, yet the club is still up in the air. That is plenty for me to now move and rotate through the shot with ease. If you look at it again, you will notice a good checkpoint is that as I come back to here, I cannot grab the golf club with my hand. If I come back and I hinged my wrists excessively, I can now grab the golf club with my hand. That's not a good thing. You're going to want to feel as you swing like the club head is really wide away from you. And by keeping the club head with width and width in our arms, you can now keep the club a consistent distance away from your body. If I'm in here like this and I come through, you'll notice the club head is way off the ground. I have to now straighten everything and release everything so much down at impact. So the feeling of a wider arc and my hands and my arms more away from me with less hinge will allow me to rotate through the shot a lot more effortlessly and with a lot less manipulation. All right, moving on, mistake number 3, the big one. And I'm really excited to show you how it can cause mistake number 2 and mistake number 1. But before we get into it, I want you to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to get more content just like this. But the big mistake, the third mistake, is that golfers are hitting these shots, the chest and body are not rotating properly in the backswing. Now, very important, if the chest and body are not rotating, what's swinging the golf club? My hands and my arms. Well, if my hands and my arms are swinging the golf club, I can bring the club back and have to bring the club too high in order to generate enough speed through the hitting area because my body is not providing any speed and any power. The second thing that can happen is if my body is not rotating, I have to then maybe hinge the club a little bit too much to get the club up high enough. So mistake number 3 in the lack of rotation can actually cause too much wrist hinging and too much length of backswing, as you just saw. So how do you feel the right rotation in the backswing? What you're going to do is you're going to set up, pull the club in your stomach, and grip down so your arms are extended. As your arms are extended, what you're going to do is you're going to pivot and turn your body back to your right side, keeping the club flush in the stomach. From here, you just rotate through to feel how the body is supposed to turn and pivot back and turn and pivot through. You'll notice as I do this how I keep my arms away from my body and I have consistent width in my backswing as I turn. If I come back and I don't turn, the arms are going to bring the golf club out of the belly, and now I'm back into that position I was talking about earlier when the arms take over. So you have to learn how to pivot back into the right side with width and lack of hinging of the hands, and then through to the left side. And eventually you can get a feeling of doing this dynamically without stopping to get a sense of what it feels like. But by releasing this left side of the body, the chest can now turn, and I can now keep the club in front of me so I can move through effortlessly. But something you can do to hit golf balls with and feel this is to have your hands on the grip normal and do a little freezer drill. What I mean by freezer is you're going to set up, and with that same motion, you're going to come back, you're going to hold it here, and as you hold it here for a second and feel where you're at, you're then going to stretch your body a little bit to create a little bit of tension and then swing through. Dynamically, it will look like this. And just that little stretching is going to make your body like a rubber band. As it gets back here with rotation, you're getting a sense of the length of the backswing, the width, and the little stretch will help you to initiate down and through with the right amount of speed and power. So when you set up, this can be somewhat difficult at first, but when you get a handle on it, this is a really good way for you to feel how to, 1, create that rotation, number 2, how to feel the right length of backswing, and number 3, how to create that good stretch for a good transition for a nice 50 to 60 yard wedge shot.